Yo, it's Rashad and Dave, Panther Nation Podcast in the building. Rashad and Dave, PNP. Today, I've been slipping a little bit on the draft coverage. Last year I was all in the Senior Bowl, Pro Days, Combines, and we're going to get to all that. But I've been slacking a little bit, so we had to call in some help. So Dave reached out to my man Zach from the Bluebloods, man. So we brought him on the show. We're going to talk a little bit of draft. So Zach, welcome to the show, man. Let the people know where they can find your information and let them know a little bit about yourself.
Hey man, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, man, me and Dave, connected over North Carolina A&T coverage.
Hey, Aggie
Specialized.
Pride.
Hey,
Yes,
man,
sir.
you know how it is. I'm excited, man. Vincent Brown's bringing a new day to A&T, but man, it's really specialized in FCS football coverage. Got a little bit of history in the P5, but man, just got done covering the Senior Bowl, and got a lot of thoughts on that. But you can find us on YouTube, the Blue Bloods, our website, thebluebloodscfb.com, and the _ Blue Bloods on all social media, man.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So
So let's
let's talk.
go. Oh, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead. My fault.
No, you got it.
No,
So
you got
let's
it. No,
before
no.
we get into that, what you got? You got me.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. So you were a former offensive lineman. Did you play for Auburn, or did you play for Auburn?
No,
Where did you play?
I just play. I played in high school, man. Listen, I was playing
Okay.
7A. I was playing 7A football in Alabama at 6'1", 250. There was no SEC future at left tackle at 6'1", 250. Like I was good, and I was I was 3-year starter over at Baker and everything. Everything was good, but man, listen, I understood. I knew I wasn't going to college scholarship for football. I had good grades, AP classes. I was like, listen, I'm just going to go academic. Like there, to me, I wasn't interested in going, D3, NAIA, anything like that. So I was just like, man, listen, I'll call it a quits. And so yeah, no, listen. If they would have put me out there, I would have been too small. Someone would have picked me up with one hand and tossed me to the side.
Well, hey, Zach. Well, this is a funny story I tell us all the time. At least you made it further than I did because I stopped playing middle school. It took one good meeting at the goal line with the running back, me playing safety. I got trucked, and from that moment on, that was it. I played middle school football. That was it. So you made it further than I did. So that's congratulations to you. Congratulations.
Y'all both got me beat. I snuck in practice in high school, and then once my mother found out I started practicing, she pulled me off. Couldn't even have a chance to figure out whether I was gonna make the team or not. So y'all both got me beat. But so you covered the Senior Bowl, man. What impressed you most about the Senior Bowl this week?
Oh man,
This weekend?
it's always just a great experience seeing prospects that people aren't really talking about or people have doubts about kind of prove the narratives about them wrong. When you look at someone like a Tank Dell from Houston, who was a little bit undersized coming in, people had a lot of questions about how he was going to handle some of the bigger corners. And I mean, he was taking people's souls in one-on-ones all week long. And you look at even a Tajay Spears from Tulane showing up at the running back spot and putting on an absolute performance. Cody Malk from North Dakota State on the offensive line. People really weren't sure with his arm length where he was going to fit, playing center, guard, and tackle throughout the week. You got undersized guys like Aubrey Miller at the linebacker spot that had to go improve their worth this week and led the American team in tackles during the game. It's just the underdog stories of the week always kind of interest me the most because a lot of the bigger guys aren't coming to these games. Like you don't get a lot of Justin Herberts going to Mobile or the Shrine Bowl anymore. The Will Levises aren't going, the Bryce Youngs aren't going, the Will Anderson. So it's really cool. I think it gives a unique opportunity to some of the guys who have something to prove, and they come down to Mobile, man, and they try to go put on a show, and a lot of them did this year.
Yeah, it's interesting you say
So
that because there wasn't a lot of big names out there, man. Like this is probably like the least hyped Senior Bowl, especially because the big quarterbacks are not showing up. Levis decided not to show up, but one of the least hyped Senior Bowls. It almost like just came and gone. Nobody's really talking about it like that. So it's really interesting you say that.
what is the other thing that's interesting too is that I looked at some of the numbers. The last 2 years, 106 players got drafted out of the Senior Bowl over the last 2 years. You're talking like 82% of the players that played in the Senior Bowl got drafted. So it shows you how important that game is to the NFL from that standpoint and to the players that do show up and play. And I think some folks did increase their draft stock at the Senior Bowl. And there were some players because Hendon Hooker showed up, but he couldn't play for obvious reasons, correct? Did they? Or did
Yeah,
he?
yeah, he
So
was hurt. Yeah.
yeah, he was hurt, but did he? I'm assuming he interviewed and got to talk to some of the coaches. Did you have a chance to talk to him at all, or?
Nah, I mean he wasn't at a lot of the general media availability. I think he just came to Mobile to get with the team. He was on the sidelines, and I think some of the people who were down there got a little bit of comment from him. But I think he was just there. I need to talk to NFL teams. I need to let them know my timetable. I need to let them know I'm okay. Pick his brain a little bit. Duggan was probably the biggest quarterback down there, and he had a up and down week. And I think like Rashad said, a lot of people get caught up with the star names. Like they put value on if there's not a great quarterback at the Senior Bowl, then who cares? And I think it's the same
Yeah.
way with draft classes. If there's not a big time quarterback coming out in the draft class, people always just say, "Oh, well, this draft class is terrible. This draft class is overrated." Like there's no good prospects. But when you look across this draft class and at the Senior Bowl, offensive line was loaded, defensive line was loaded, cornerback was loaded, wide receiver, there was plenty of talent. And so I just think the average fan probably didn't have a lot of interest because, like you said, there wasn't a big name quarterback there. And that's kind of, upsetting. But I think the real football heads knew how much talent is one in this draft and two down at the Senior Bowl this week.
So
So
give me one of give me one of the the top, because listen, we just got a new defensive coordinator, obviously, in Evero. Probably going to switch up to like a 3-4. And well, based on personnel, obviously I think we have the guys to run it. But even with that said, I think there's some gaps in our defensive personnel. Uh, Mainly being nose. I don't think we have the nose tackle to do it right now. Derek Brown's great. I think he slides outside to be an end. Just my personal opinion. Again, I'm not an X's and O's guy like that. I know a little bit, but in terms of X's and O's, I'm not a genius. So I'm just going to throw some things out there. You can tell me whether I'm off my rocker or whatever. But I think we're missing a nose tackle, and I think we're missing a solid edge, right? Another edge, right? So I'm thinking YGM, he may, or Yitu Ghost Matos may actually fare better in the 3-4 as an end than he would as a 4-3, and I don't think it's not his thing. So I'm thinking, so
he
give me a
better.
guy like we'll see, because this is last year. So we'll give me a guy like was there a nose tackle that kind of shot out to you, or an end that would fit in a 3-4?
Um, I think your best bet at like a D tackle because it's so hard to find a one nowadays. Like
Yeah.
there's not many guys who are built like that anymore. But in terms of a defensive tackle, I would say Nesta Jade Silvera from Arizona State. He transferred in from Miami. He looked really good in practice. When you're talking about a guy who in one-on-ones could just move people and had that strength and had that aggressiveness, he looked like he was on a mission all week long. He was one of the few guys that beat Cody Malka in one-on-ones this week. He did a great job in terms of run because there's different types of pass, one-on-one with offensive line and defensive line. You
Yeah.
got the famous pass rush drill where you just got to go get the dummy, the coach, whatever standing behind the line. But then there's another one that's really important, especially for interior guys, where all you want to do is extend, get to your spot, and stay there. You don't want to get upfield. You want to get probably a yard or two in the backfield, extend your arm, do whatever you need to, and establish your spot in the middle. Because if you go too far into the backfield, you open up cutback lanes, you get caught with the trap guard, whatever it may be. Nesta J looked great in that. He did a great job of just moving his guy to where it needs to be, opened up a gap for the linebacker in the normal game to go make a play. So I would say Nesta J from Arizona State's a name to watch. I also think Will McDonald from Iowa State had a really good week at edge. If you're looking for an edge rusher, man, he's just I wouldn't say he's very strong in the run aspect, but if you're looking for a guy who can just go get the quarterback, that's Will McDonald. He has the measurables. He has the athleticism. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the guys from NFL Network said his pro comp was like a Harold Landry, almost
Mm.
coming out there just a little
Yeah,
bit
give me
bigger.
that.
Which, hey, that's not terrible. I mean, that's it could be a lot worse pro comps, but he had a really really good week. He looks very physical, but his speed and athleticism off the edge is going to make him an extremely interesting prospect. Probably a day two ish type guy too. So depending on what the Panthers want to do in the draft, I think he could be available going into day two.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What about any cornerbacks? Is there any cornerbacks that stand out? I could see us particularly. I don't know, when we're not too sold on CJ Henderson. We may try
Dog,
to kind of go out there and get us
but we
another
need a
cornerback.
nickel. We shouldn't have to be worried about trying to start CJ Henderson, man, because we should have healthy cornerbacks where we have Dante and and JC, but we'll see. But I don't want to be
For
bragging out any
corner,
sort of
listen, it was an up and down week for corners. I'm just going to
Yeah.
keep it. I mean, there were
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
because it's so hard in one-on-ones, but you
It
don't want to
is.
get burnt in front of the
Yeah.
scout. So if there's any chance you can hold, there's any chance you can, do anything. I will say I really am intrigued by Riley Moss from Iowa. He's
Yeah.
a
Love
guy
Riley.
who
Ooh, I love him. Love
he
Moss.
he he just has that like I don't know. He just has that it factor about him when I look at him as a corner. He's physical. He is and my biggest thing is I would rather have a corner who may give up a play or two here, but is going to be a ball tracker and can make plays on the other side. Like he might give up a few, some yards, but if he's going to give me 8, 9 picks a year, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
Give me the
I
picks
love
and give me
Riley
the
Moss.
turnovers. Riley Moss is that guy. And he's also, his football IQ really showed out this week as well. Now, I think an underrated guy, I don't know what day he is, but Julius Brents from Kansas State had a really good week. I'll say this, okay. If you can deal with some penalties potentially early on as a rookie, he's a guy who I think
DBO.
can develop. Because he's hands. I'll be honest. He's not afraid to get physical, but he's 6'3", 200 pounds and can move. And so if you're looking for something you can mold, because I don't think he's even a day one, early day two guy. So if you're looking for a mid-round guy that can develop in the next few years, that's the guy. Also, I think Darius Rush from South Carolina is kind of in that same mold. And I think those are two guys that probably be a little bit developmental guys. I don't know how much of a factor they'll start this year, but man, if I had to pick one guy, Riley Moss is the guy I'm riding for at corner out of the Senior Bowl.
So going back to
What
Brents real
about
quick, is he more of a safety? I see him listed as a safety.
He played a lot of corner this week,
Okay, gotcha.
so I think
Okay.
he can fit a little
wow?
bit of both.
Gotcha. Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
So my question for you is about tight end, because I know the Panthers faithful has been begging for like a pass catching tight end. So I'm curious about tight end.
There wasn't one at the Senior Bowl, but I will say I don't know how Panthers fans feel. I got a feeling in this upcoming draft, with all the needs at quarterback, that in my opinion, this is from my perspective on my quarterback scouting and kind of look at what I see. I don't think there's a quarterback worth the first round pick after Young and Stroud. And I don't think either one of them are going to be there when the Panthers pick. And I've seen too many times where teams try to make a quarterback fit and reach. If I'm the Panthers and Meyer is there from Notre Dame at tight end, I'm strongly considering getting him and just trying to load up on weapons for whatever quarterback I try to make work later in the season, or if even goes into next season. I think that could be a potential first round pick. And I love Meyer's game, man. He looks like the next level. Also, Tucker Crown, South Dakota State, who hasn't been in any All-Star games due to him overcoming some injuries, but he's another guy, man, has a size 6'5", can block, can also get out there and pass and be a receiving threat as well, play in the slot, be an H-back. He kind of fits a lot of different things. But if I'm a Panthers fan, I would not hate drafting Meyer in the first round.
Like, so the thing is, so Carolina has the ninth pick, and I'm waiting for Rashad to return because the internet kind of went kind of wacky, but hopefully it'll get back right. But the crazy thing about the ninth pick, and I'm probably like the most hated member of PNP right now because I don't have an issue taking a quarterback in the second round, but the bulk of the Panthers fan base is like trade up to get the guy, whoever we need to get. Like a lot of folks want Stroud. There's some folks who want Bryce Young, but I've been on the let's wait and see who our head coach is going to be. Based on who our head coach is, I don't think Bryce Young is in the cards, in my opinion, from a Panther standpoint, based on Frank Reich's history of who he takes at quarterback. So I don't see that happening. No, because he doesn't. That isn't what he does.
Yeah.
But from the standpoint of, and Rashad's back, from the standpoint of what to do at 9, I tend to agree with you. I don't think Richardson or Levitt is worth the 9th pick, but I know that we probably will take one of them at the 9th pick if we stay there.
That'd be so disappointing.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm keeping a buck. I do.
Yes. So I missed a little bit of the conversation, but I know where you're going with this, and I feel like a lot of Panthers fans are more so apt to lean towards Richardson than Levis. But and the reason why they are like that is because they feel like with Frank Reich and his ability to mold quarterbacks, they're feeling like he could develop a guy. I'm on the complete opposite. I do believe in some of the traits of Richardson, but at the same time, I listen. I'm all for selling the farm for Stroud. That's who I want. Like, I want CJ Stroud. Like, whatever it takes, give up the picks. I don't care. Go get the guy, because right now, if you look at the Panthers, but if you look at the Panthers, right, it's not a typical situation where the team is just crap, right? We have a good offensive line. We've got some decent weapons, right? We have a good offensive mind that can utilize and develop the quarterback. It's not just all on him. You got a solid defense as well. So it's not like we're just drafting him and saying, hey, like in a Trevor Lawrence situation, go fix and be the guy. Like, he can be molded and we don't have to put everything on his shoulders. So I think it's a little bit different situation. And I think the Carolina Panthers right now are in a situation where they could trade up, and I think the quarterback would be successful. Just my opinion.
The division's weak. And the division's weak.
Yeah.
We should be running the division for the next couple of years.
I'm with you. And like, that's Lamar my thing.
Jackson, unless Lamar shows up in Atlanta. And then things change. But
I've never understood that about fans. I'm not a huge NFL guy. I'm more of a college football guy, but I've never understood that, because if you look at what it takes to be successful in the NFL, you can have whatever quarterback you want, but if they don't have the weapons, you're not winning. Like, look at what the 49ers have done. It has been a rotating door of average quarterbacks, and they consistently win and are in spots where teams would beg to be. So why would you not just load up every chance you get on weapons? Unless, like you said, if for some reason you can wheel and deal a trade and get Stroud, or God forbid him or Young falls for some reason, you get lucky at 9 and he's there. But why not load up on weapons? Because for me, looking at the quarterback class, outside of Stroud and Young, there's not really a superstar that I think is going to come in and set the world on fire. It's going to take some time to develop. I'd rather take a risk on drafting a Jake Haener from Fresno State, a Tim DeMorat from Fordham, throw out another mid or late round quarterback you want to. I'd rather take a chance on them developing than I ever would trying to waste a 9th pick on Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. I don't think they're that good of prospects. I have not seen anything. The comparison with Richardson to Cam is the most lazy comparison for a quarterback I've ever seen. Because I'm an Auburn alum. I've watched Cam. I'm a huge.
You were there when Cam was there, right?
Yeah.
You was there when Cam was playing, right?
I was in 8th grade, man. I'm still young, so I was only in 8th grade. But I still watched every game. Listen, I got the whole season on DVD in my room. If y'all want some Cam film, I can show some Cam film. Anthony Richardson is not a third of what Cam Newton is as a quarterback. That's just the facts. And so it's just I would rather take a risk in the 4th round, a waiver on a quarterback, hoping he's like a Brock Purdy-ish type of guy, rather than waste the 9th pick and draft the next Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, and I agree. And I just think that I think the Panthers are in a different situation. This is why it's all starting to connect with me, is why I've been pounding the table for an offensive-minded quarterback. I've been pounding the table because you talked about the 49ers. Well, they got Shanahan. Like, Shanahan is a beast, bro. Like, and they've got a ton of weapons, right? But even with Shanahan, she's shown success. And now that we have an offensive-minded coach, he's going to know how to put a quarterback that has the traits that CJ Stroud has, and he's going to put him in a good situation, right? I don't want him. And I've seen this debate where, if Frank Reich is so good at developing quarterbacks, then why not go get him one of the quarterbacks with the highest upside in Richardson? And I'm like, why would you like that? Get the best quarterback, give him the best quarterback, and see what he can do with the best quarterback. Like, I don't like that. Let's just be lazy because he's good at developing quarterbacks. No, get the best guy out there. And we've been playing games with the quarterback position for so long. You got Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, all these guys that we've had over. Like, no, go and get the guy. Now's your opportunity, and he's going to be surrounded with some good talent. And I feel like, keep an eye on the Panthers. I think we're going to be in a situation to trade up and go get one of those guys if if it looks that way. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
While you were getting your internet right, you know what I'm saying, in Charlotte, the we were talking about tight ends and like trying to figure out what was a good option at tight end. So because it was a discussion point about what to do at 9, and I said it before, with all the fiascos that's happened with quarterbacks, and some of these quarterbacks might be getting overdrafted. We could be sitting at 9 and could arguably get one of the best edge rushers in the draft, and I would have absolutely no problem with us taking an edge rusher at 9, considering the need that we have at the position. Like, I would have no qualms about it. Or just get another weapon for? None.
For who?
I would have no qualms.
For who?
Yeah, I mean, it's
anybody.
For who, but like, I mean, if there's an edge rusher, like if Miles Murphy or Will Anderson are there at 9, that's a no-brainer pick.
Yeah, give me Will Anderson all day. At that, you talking about Will Anderson? Absolutely, I would agree there.
Like that's a no-brainer for me. But I mean, if you're sitting at 9, let's say the top 2 quarterbacks are gone. I think you guys are good on the offensive line. I don't see them looking anywhere in terms of like the kid from Northwestern or was it Paris Johnson's, one of the higher rated offensive linemen. I don't see corner in the first round. If you're looking for weapons, you got Meyer at tight end. You'll have outside of Meyer at tight end, it's just a bunch of wide receivers. And I don't know. I mean, what does Quentin Johnston, does the kid from Ohio State?
He's been starting to get some heat.
Yes.
We've been talking about him not being a top guy anymore.
Yeah, Steve Smith just ripped him.
Yeah.
Steve Smith
so I don't know
a
about
new
him.
one.
Jordan Addison will be an interesting one. I'm interested to see what where he kind of falls. The kid from Ohio State, he was never the main guy coming off an injury. It'll be interesting to see where he falls. And then is it the kid from Boston College is the other one that's getting a lot of hype? I'm blanking on his. Zay Flowers. I just don't know if that gets the Panthers fans super excited.
No, it's not. That's why you get a quarterback.
They want a quarterback.
Go get me a quarterback,
man.
Get me a quarterback, man.
So bad. I've been like the quarterback hater for like the past couple of years. I've been stopping them from taking a quarterback in the first round for the last couple of years.
Listen. We talk about what it's taking up, what's going to take to give it, go up there and get it, right? You talking about first. We got an extra second, right? Who cares about next year's first round pick if this dude pans out? Like if he's going to be what we expect him to be, given what's around him, nobody cares about that first round pick next year because we'll be in the playoffs. It'll be in the 20s somewhere. Nobody's going to care. Right. If it all goes to plan, I think now is the right time. That's just my opinion. But yeah, who am I? That's why I'm in this chair. It'll
be interesting to see what the Bears ask for. Like, because I'm assuming you guys would go for the Bears pick because the Bears aren't going for a quarterback. And
I'm gonna be honest, man. And I said this on Twitter a few days ago. If the speculation is true that Bryce Young is still the top quarterback prospect and Bryce Young is going to be the first QB off the board, we might not need to take the number 1 pick. And we could potentially just try to trade up to get ahead of the other guy. So it won't cost us as much. I think we're still going to have to give up the 2024 pick. But we might not have to give up as many assets to do it. But I know his greedy Smurf behind. He wants to go straight to the Bears.
I'll try to whatever it takes, man. I don't care what it takes. Go get him. Whatever it takes. I think now's the time. But that's just my opinion. All right, so going back to some of these prospects. I know you're like an FCS guy. So who, man, I love when these small school guys come out and put on a show. What's my man from? I can't remember his name, man. My man last year with the big belly and went to Denver, or it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago. I don't think.
I forgot my man's name.
Because there wasn't anyone for that went there. Because last year was Penning went to the Saints in the first round, and then Cole Strange went to the Patriots.
Nah, what's my man?
Nah,
a man from I forgot his name, bro. But I just love to see those situations, man. These guys who barely get a chance, and obviously us going to A&T, we like to see our guys go out there and get an opportunity. Who I would say, give me like your top 3 guys that you think, all right, they're gonna be drafted in the whatever day you think they're gonna land.
I think the consensus number one FCS prospect is Cody Mock from North Dakota State. I mean, you're looking at a guy that I think he started over 60 plus games as a multi-time All-American, was probably one of the best offensive linemen at the Senior Bowl. I think he won 90+% of his one-on-ones this week, can play guard, can play tackle, got some experience at center, and he's just going to be a problem. I mean, he's a day one guy you insert. I think his pro position is probably going to be left guard. I think late first round, early second is probably where we're going to see him. He's kind of in that like Christian Watson area where you're not really sure where he's going to end up, but he'll be an early pick. I like Mark Evans the second from UAPB as well. Another offensive lineman, a tackle who's going to move into guard. He's a 4-time All SWAC selection, has the size, has the athleticism, and did a really, really great job at the Shrine Bowl based on what I'm told from the guys over at Draft HBCU. I've looked at some of the film. He's probably a guy who can develop into a starter at some point next year. I don't know if he's an instant starter, but I think he's a guy that his potential, like his upside, is a 10+ year starter in the league. He just has that type of durability, that type of head on him and everything. I'm a huge fan of Mark Evans. Another one is Andre Isovas from Princeton, the wide receiver. You know, the production was kind of lacking in terms of just gaudy numbers, but Princeton didn't do a really good job of throwing the football. But this is a guy who holds the NCAA record in the 60-meter all time, and he's 6'3", over 200 pounds.
Yeah,
The kid can fly.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that kid. That's crazy.
He's a problem, and he's a great route runner too. He didn't really get to show anything in the Senior Bowl game, but throughout practice, man, he was consistently. I mean, he was consistently competing in those one-on-one reps. Tucker Kraft's a guy I think is an honorable mention, but I want to say a guy who I think is going to go day 3. Just because he was used wrong in college, is Justin Ford out of Montana at cornerback. This kid's 6'2", 200+ pounds, transferred in from Louisville, was a Buck Buchanan Award finalist, the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year a year ago, had 20+ pass deflections, 9 interceptions, and 3 touchdowns 2 years ago. Wow. He's a man corner. He's a big guy, likes to get his hands on people, but they put him in a zone scheme this year. And just it just didn't fit. He didn't put up the gaudy stats, didn't get a lot of tackles because in a zone scheme, you could throw away from somebody. Yeah. And they just kept the ball away from him. And it was kind of upsetting to see. But I think the upside of him, if you're looking for a prospect who's going to get drafted probably in the 5th to 7th round, and by next December, everyone's like, why didn't we hear about this kid? That's going to be your Justin Ford. And then if you're looking, man, there's so many good FCS prospects. If I had to pick a last one, man, I'm going to say, and another underrated one is probably Montre Braswell from Missouri State. He's a kick returner / defensive back. He's been in all conference and FCS All-American selection at both positions. This is a guy for his whole career averaged over 30 yards per game as a kick returner. Like 30 yards per return. I mean, and so, man, explosive. Had every single year he played, he had 100+ yard kickoff return every season. He just has that about him. He's 6'2+, up over 200 pounds as well, has elite speed. I think Montre Braswell is kind of in that same vein as I'm blanking on the kid from Stanford last year, Montreal Washington, who went over to the Broncos and was able to make an instant impact there. That's kind of the type of player he is, except he plays DB. So I think that's a guy you can look at later in the draft that's going to make an immediate impact from the FCS.
That's great. So Quinn Myers was the guy I was talking about.
Oh, Myers. Yeah, that was the kid from, I think it was what, D2 or even D3.
Yeah, it was University of Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin Whitewater. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that kid. Yeah. Man.
So it's just interesting. So in that so we're talking about FCS. Is there a specific position that you like? Okay, we're talking about offensive linemen. It seems like they have a higher success rate in the making that transition. Are there other positions outside of that make that jump and they seem to be successful coming from FCS?
Yeah, I think offensive tackle or offensive line is the second most drafted position from FCS. Cornerback is actually the next highest, because you look at like the James Bradberries and guys like that have got to the league and performed really well. Wide receiver as well, especially if you go historic, you look at the Jerry Rices and then even the most recent one like Cooper Kupp, who was just a Super Bowl MVP. So I think corner, wide receiver, and offensive line are like the 3 main positions that you're looking at from the FCS. Like offensive line class this year, Cody Mock, McClendon Curtis, what Mark Evans as well, and then you could probably throw Nash Jensen as well from North Dakota State. There's a kid, I think Alex Jensen from South Dakota, who has a chance to get drafted. I mean, there's a lot of different guys in terms of offensive line this year, and then especially at wide receiver with this Lovis Shaq Davis, I think is a name you should look out for out of South Carolina State, who has put a lot of guys in the league that have been extremely successful.
Yep.
Yeah,
Xavier Gibson
Shaq
from
is going to be a
Stephen F.
problem, bro.
Austin. Yeah, so I think those are your main positions. And then even like a Darian Chafin from Incarnate Word, who he had one explosive year, but this is a guy who's like 6'5" and can just go make plays and was the second highest leading receiver in the FCS this year in that Incarnate Word offense. So those are probably the three main positions. If I hear a guy from the FCS is coming out, that's probably your best bet is the guy who's going to turn out. Just for whatever reason, those positions seem to work out at the next level.
That's dope. Dave, you got anything else?
Yeah, man, because I want to get a little teaser for two of the main guys that play pretty well in the HBCU front, Aubrey Miller and Isaiah Land. They had some pretty good games in the Senior Bowl, particularly Aubrey Miller. Like, he had the first tackle in the damn game, kind of woke everybody up that day. 'Cause I watched the beginning. I watched the first half. So, like, talk to me about how Aubrey and Isaiah did in that game. From
Yeah, man,
Jackson
it
State
was
and Florida, respectively.
yeah, Aubrey, Mike linebacker from Jackson State. I don't think that surprised anybody, to be honest with you, Dave. I really do think we all know. If anyone who watches
Yeah,
HBCU
we
football watched
know.
Jackson State, yeah, like we knew what Aubrey was going to bring. The one question is, Jackson State had him listed at 6'2" on the website, measured in at 5'11". It's common, but that's a big loss, and so his size was called into question early. But man, he hung in there, and also his cover skills is slowly improving. And I think it's just when you get to the NFL, you got to know what you're good at, and the coaches have to be able to put players in positions to succeed. You're not going to ask a guy who's good in zone to go play a man scheme. Like that's not a way to utilize that guy. So Aubrey's going to go to needs to go. I'll say this will fit best in an aggressive downhill scheme that uses their mics in a lot of blitzes, a lot of run situations where he's going to be able to get into fill the gap and pursue the running back, but he's not going to be in a lot of zone cover situations. You don't want him in man or zone in coverage against a really good running back. He held his own against like the Chris Rodriguez's and some of the bigger running backs. But man, when you get them up against like the Eric Grays and the Kenny McIntoshes and the Tajay Spears that are guys who are more out of the Alvin Kamara role, it's hard for any Mike linebacker to cover those guys. And so as long as Aubrey goes to a scheme that puts him in, I would say, situations to succeed and doesn't try to make him be something he's not, Aubrey's going to be just fine. I still think he'll probably be a late day 2, early day 3 pick. I've been hearing a lot of 5th round grades on him. And for Isaiah, man, Dave, you know this. It was so important for him to go and play real linebacker because he's not an edge rusher at the next
Yeah.
level full time. He came in 6'3", 226. You can't play defensive end in the NFL as 6'3", 226,
Yeah,
regardless
man.
of how good you are. And so I'll be interested to see his big weigh-in is at the combine in a month or two. If he can be somewhere around 235, close to 240, at least that's him going in the right direction, putting on good weight in a not just bulking on just to weigh in, but you're looking good. Because I mean, listen, he was ripped, man. I'll say this for 226, man. He's strong as hell for a guy who's 226, and he held his own really well in one-on-ones, but early in the week, he went through some growing pains in terms of flipping his hips and covers, like the drills where you got to back pedal, flip your hips, flip your hips, flip your hips. He looked very stiff. And I think it's just going to take some time for him to develop into that because he's never had to do that. As an edge rusher, you don't have to get in coverage and flip your hips. That's just not something you're trained to do. So more repetition for him at a true linebacker spot is going to be a key for whatever team drafts him. But the good thing is he can play special teams, and also in special situations when you need just that guy to go get the quarterback, he can play, which gives him some value while you develop. If you're going to be a developmental player, at least bring some sort of specialty that makes teams want to have you on the field in certain situations. That's how you get on a roster. And you saw in the game with his sack, a tackle of 1.5 tackles for loss, he can make plays when given the opportunity to rush the passer, even against bigger guys. So Isaiah Land definitely earned him some money this week. It's going to take a lot of time. Like I tell people, moving from edge rusher to Mike linebacker is like moving from tight end to quarterback.
Tough.
Yeah.
It's because you got to,
It's
the
tough.
Mike's the quarterback of the defense because you got to read completely different keys. You got to read the running back, you got to read the quarterback, you got to read the guard, you got to see what the center's doing. And on edge rusher, you're looking at the tackle, you're seeing if a pulling guard's coming, and you're coming straight upfield for the quarterback. Like there's not a lot of processing behind the edge rusher. It's just go get the guy who has the football, and that's the quarterback. As a Mike, there's so many other things you have to do. You got to make sure the corner's in the right spot, the safeties are deep enough. Got to make sure your defensive tackles are in the right gap. There's just it's going to be a learning experience. But I thought Isaiah Land did a hell of a job this weekend for his first ever time playing. Mike was against some of the best NFL prospects out right now.
All right. All right. That was a good one. That's a good way to close it, man. Unless you got anything else, Rashad, I think we good to go, man.
So yeah, I got one last question. We gotta quickly talk about A&T football, right? So I know listen, we on a little, had a little bump in the road, got a new coach. What do you think? How do you think A&T gonna do next year? We got the signing day, all that good stuff. How do you think we're gonna end up next year?
I mean, Dave could tell you, I've been on the Vincent Brown bandwagon
He
before
called
day
it.
one.
He was the
I
first.
did.
He was the first one when Sam Washington was parted ways. When the news broke, the first name he mentioned was Vincent Brown.
I saw
And
it
as soon
coming.
as
It made too much sense.
when I
Yeah.
googled it, I said, "All right, let me see who this guy. Let me make sure it's the same guy I think it is." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I want him."
Yeah,
I want
he's
him.
got all the experience. Like when you look at what A&T needed, because I get it. I understand why some people were saying celebrity hire, because of the media hype that comes behind it, the resources. But man, you don't want a celebrity coach trying to learn how to coach in the CAA. You're going to get, I mean,
Yeah.
drug week in and week out when you go up against the Delawares and the William and Marys and the Richmonds. You needed a coach that one knows what it takes to win in the CAA. This is a guy who just won the conference and had one of the best defenses in the FCS, has developed a Buck Buchanan Award finalist, the CAA Defensive Player of the Year in John Pius. Nate Lynn was a freshman All-American last season, another All-Conference selection this year. He had a Freshman of the Year candidate in Jalen Jones at corner, who was one of the top corners in the country as a true freshman. He's done it at the highest level. And also, I had him on the show for an interview right after he got hired. And he even mentioned on my show, he was like, listen, the expectation is to win every game. He said, everywhere I've been, I've beaten FBS programs. And he did. They beat UNLV at Howard. Last year they beat I forgot who William and Mary knocked off last year. It was Charlotte. They beat Charlotte
Charlotte.
last
It was
year.
Charlotte. Yep.
And
It was
so
Charlotte.
expects when you guys go play UAB, Vincent Brown's going out there to win, because he thinks he can do it, because he's done it before. And so I think that's something that is invaluable for A&T. And then on top of that too, his connections throughout the coaching community. When you look at some of the staff hires, if you go get a celebrity coach, you're not getting those guys to leave established positions to come coach it, come coach with just some random celebrity coach. Like, he has done it at the highest level. And we saw what happened with Ed Reed. What happens when people come into the HBCU, sphere, the world, with no understanding of what goes on behind the scenes at a lot of these HBCUs. And we saw what a disaster that could be with the prom leaving, with Ed Reed coming in and burning every bridge he could. Vincent Brown understands what it's like to be at an HBCU because he graduated from one. He was a two-time All-American at Valley. If he understands what's going on at Valley, A&T is going to be a walk in the park for him. He understands what's coming. He understands what it takes to win. And so, man, I think it was an A+ hire. I told Dave, year one in the CAA is tough. It is. I mean, you guys have a brutal stretch. I think it was Delaware, Richmond, and then somebody else all back to back in the middle of the season. And then on top of that, too.
The only benefit of that part is that 2 out of those 3 games are at home. Other than that, it's still Delaware, Villanova, and Richmond. That's the only. We might be able to get one of those joints at home, but we're not gonna get all 3 of them.
And also, it's just a bad year for Central to be good. It really is, because if Central was,
it's in Greensboro. It's in Greensboro.
Oh, well, that helps a little bit.
And now the coaches don't know our calls. The coaches
that
don't know
is true.
Calls.
Now listen, don't let Josh hear
Sam Washington admitted. I already told him. I was like, you won't know our calls now. You won't know our calls now, so you're not going to have the same advantages. You won't know our calls, because Sam Washington admitted after the game.
That's true. I told Dave, I think 5 wins would be a hell of a season year one in the CAA, in a great year for Vincent Brown year one, especially with him getting such a late start on recruiting and some of the losing Jacob Roberts and
That
Tootin and
tough.
some of those guys, man, that hurts.
Tough.
That hurts a first year
Yeah.
head coach. But 5 wins in the CAA. If you you just got to be better than Hampton. I think you guys are better than Hampton. As long as you don't have a Hampton type year in the CAA, that's a plus.
Bro,
They
we can get one
We're
win as long as it's Central. I don't care what happens the rest of it. I just need to beat Central. That's all I care about. It can go 0 and whatever and just beat them.
Vincent Brown, look, I'll talk to Vincent Brown, man. He understands the assignment.
I asked Dave all this. I already asked
Go
Dave.
ahead,
So Rashad, I got to ask you, what would he have to do to get an A+ grade this year from you?
Beat Central. I don't
That's
care
it?
nothing.
That's his A+.
That is an A+ for me, bro. I don't care. And I'm being honest. I'm being truthful here. All you got to do is beat Central for me. I understand, you came in late, like you just said, you got the recruiting late. I understand all that stuff. So I get you get a break from me year one. But just go out there and beat Central, man. Just put it all on the line, beat Central, and I'm okay with it. Whatever else happens. You get your time to build, but just beat Central, please.
I know I can still hear the sting from that one. That was week 1. And I still hear it in your voice. It
hurt.
It hurt.
Man, we were in the suite.
We were there.
Yeah,
we were in the
suite
suite
at Bank America Stadium. We just got manhandled, and I did not appreciate that. I don't mind getting beat, man. We just got manhandled. And I don't like that. And then they go on to win the Celebration Bowl. And you just got to see. All you see is the maroon crap and everybody flying this little eagle flags all over the place. I'm sick of it.
It's okay. At least you're not Dave. He's got to listen to Josh every day.
Every week.
every day he's got to hear Josh
week.
talk about that national championship.
I'm
Kudos
not
to them.
Kudos
to them.
I mean, they earned it. I think I could tolerate that more than Jackson State. They earned it.
Nah,
might
Jackson State's in Mississippi. We don't care about that. I don't care about that. I live right here next to Central, bro. I
live in New England, bro. So
I'm in North Carolina. I'm here. I'm in the trenches.
Yeah, you in the trenches.
Oh man. Oh, I cried. That's great.
And I think he lives in Charlotte too, man. You might run into Josh. That's hilarious.
Hey.
But
man.
seriously though, the first time we talked about the importance of that game, I said losing to North Carolina Central is a fireable offense.
It is.
It's a fireable offense.
Do you think Sam's still there if he beat Central this past season?
No, I don't. I think Sam getting let go was more about the fact that, because I did some more digging about it. When he first got hired as the head coach of North Carolina A&T, they asked him, what's next for A&T? His answer pretty much was, I want to get past winning Celebration Bowls. I want to go to other conferences and win the FCS National Championship. Over the years, that changed. That's what got him out of there. I don't think there was too much that he could have done. There could have been a scenario where he could have got an opportunity to get a year in the CAA, but there wasn't too much that could have probably happened that could have stopped what was going to happen there. I'm going to be honest, because I think the visions didn't align. Like, he was very vocal about the fact about playing North Dakota State. He was very vocal about the whole situation regarding FCS playoffs versus Celebration Bowl. Like, when you're like going against the vision of what the university wants to do, that kind of did him in. And I love Sam. I love Sam Washington. I love him. I think he's a hell of a coach. But I think that the alignment kind of did him in. But we got a really good coach in Vincent Brown, and I think he's gonna do really good. And he got a lot of insurances in his contract. I can tell you that right now. I read through the contract.
Hey, with the CAA getting 5 at large bids, hey, you just need a 5th place finish.
We
in the
need
conference
7 wins,
you
bro.
guys are in the playoffs.
7 wins might do it, bro. 7 wins, we in the playoffs. We ain't got to worry about a 9-2 FAMU getting it out here scheduling Division II games.
NAIA.
That is an NAIA team. Oh,
I heard they're reconsidering it. They made an announcement today that that's not the official schedule. And someone hit me up and said they're reconsidering that Lincoln game.
Oh, because of all the screams? Because you need to play somebody.
Call up A&T.
But
I need that game. I need a FAMU A&T home and home so bad.
I think it's gonna happen. But to be honest, bro, if we're gonna add another, because starting in 2024, we can add a 12th game.
Yeah.
So I think when that happens, if I was a betting person, they're gonna probably get the South Carolina State game back first. I think that'll be the first one that's gonna get at it.
Because I heard there were some Alcorn fans that hit me up and said they wanted a Celebration Bowl
I would
rematch.
love to play Alcorn, bro.
They don't want. I'm tired of playing them, man. Nah, that's I'm no more Alcorn State, man. Please, I hate the little band chant thing they do. The little
Brave chant.
I'm tired of that, man. We're done with them. We're tired of beating up on them. It's
the one thing I gotta commend Alcorn for, and there's one thing I gotta commend Alcorn for though, from one standpoint, they're never scared. They'll play anybody.
That's true.
A lot of these other teams in that conference, they don't want to play anybody. That's why FAMU's out here scheduling Lincoln and getting this backlash, and now they try to reconsider their schedule. They out here scheduling these schools that they ain't got no business playing. They say they're the standard, and they out here scheduling these schools and they're out of conference. But it comes down to the classics. I've already made my opinion on that. You put these classics on, you lose your home games, and now you got your fans not able to go to these home games. And now you don't have enough home games for your fans. It's about
I give A&T props. A&T, Alcorn, PV, even Valley. Valley's not scared about Valley Valley will schedule anybody. And then even Texas Southern to a point, has done a pretty good job of scheduling. So you got to give them props, but man, that's one thing I give Alcorn and A&T credit for, man. Throughout the entire, you go back and look at some of the schedules, man. You guys in Alcorn, it doesn't matter if they're ranked, it's on the road, it's a neutral site, it just lays them up, and we're going to go out there and play, and I respect that.
We never scared, yo. But when we say it, they get mad. I'm like, we ain't scared, bro. But you guys be out here going to these classics and be getting mad when I tell y'all I need to be moving these dates.
Rashad said he ain't going to find them on the stretch, though. He said he don't want to come to Lorman and be on the stretch at 4 a.m.
I gotta get down there, man. I really do. I gotta get down there.
That was an interesting experience, man. I never thought I'd wake up at 3 a.m. for a 2 o'clock kickoff.
3 a.m.?
Yeah, I stayed in Natchez. I had to wake up at 3 a.m., was on the stretch at about 4, and I sat on the stretch for like 2.5 hours getting into that Alcorn State Jackson game this year.
Nah, man. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it was insane. Because, there's one way in, one way out. That's it. That's the only way you get to Alcorn State.
I'll pass.
Oh, my God. Wow. Well, you got to come to one. You got to get to Greensboro, man. You almost got there for GO.
Y'all are on my list this year. Yeah. Huh? You guys.
Aggie Eagle, man. You got to come through for Aggie Eagle.
Because, you guys and fam are my
homecoming. Yeah, y'all got to come down to Aggie Eagle. Come down. It's in Greensboro this year. Come down to Aggie Eagle, man.
Definitely got to make that one. That's going to be such a great game. I can't wait to see that rematch.
Oh, I can't either. I'm ready. We better win it, too.
That's going to be a good one. All right, man. We're gonna close it out. Can you stay for like a minute or two, man? We're going to close this out. Appreciate you, Zach. Once again, give everybody all your information so we don't know where to find you. Get my man Zach subs up, because he should have way more subscribers than what he currently has, man. He got some phenomenal content from the FCS standpoint. He interviews players, coaches from the FCS standpoint. He has a weekly live show. He takes phone calls, answers questions from all the conferences throughout FCS. So go ahead and give out your Zach.
I definitely appreciate you guys having me. Appreciate that as well, man. But man, you can find us on YouTube, the Bluebloods, all podcast platforms. The BluebloodsCFB.com is where you can find all our website content. Then it's the _Bluebloods on all social media, man. I'm looking forward to hop back on here, man, for after draft night, so we can look at some prospects that you guys got. Hopefully, I'll get some FCS guys that can come in and contribute.
I'm absolutely down. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out if Mr. Fitterer's about that life. We're gonna find out. Now that we know that Matt Rule's gone, maybe he's about that life. We're gonna find out for sure now. All right, man. Appreciate it, guys. You guys have a good one. Let me go ahead and shut this thing down.